Shalom, everyone. I hope that this microphone, I think I made a difference with the volume. I guess we'll see. Somebody will let me know. Praise Yah, we're still here. There's still chance. We're still on this side of the ground. The word of Elohim is not chained. No matter what happens, the word of Elohim is not chained. We just thank you, Yahuwah Elohim, the breath of life that breathed the seed into the earth, that breathed the word into us, the word that is written and planted in the soil of our hearts. That Yahuwah, no matter what happens, Father, we give you the honor, we give you the glory, we give you the praise in knowing that you were raised, Father, the flesh that was word that was made flesh, died for the bride, and that you rose, your spirit rose, every piece, part, and conglomerate of the word rose, that it was not chained, and it cannot be chained in us no matter what they do to the body. It matters what you can do to the body and the soul. Father, we ask for your great mercy, Father. We ask for the mercy and the grace to walk through these things, Yahuwah, knowing that the word is not chained, and it will come. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Okay, so we're going to start. This is what we're going to read. We're going to start with this verse, and of course, we're not just going to cherry pick the verse. We're going to start with cherry picking the verse and follow it around, and then come back to the whole context. So we're looking at 2 Timothy 2. If you want to turn there in your scriptures. In verses 8 and 9. I'm in chapter 1. So, that's not correct. Remember that Yahuwah, who came to rescue us, the King of Kings, the greatest prophet who planted the seed into the earth, the high priest that sacrificed in the garden, the high priest in the order of the King of Righteousness, because he is the King of Righteousness. The seed of David was raised from the dead according to my good news. No, Paul's not saying that it's his good news any more that you and I say to the neighbor next door, listen, this is my good news. It's just a testimony for which I suffer hardship as a criminal unto chains. But the word of Elohim is not chained. So let's take a look at this chained, unto chains, chain. We see that Shaul, suffering hardship as a criminal, which is something that Yahuwah told Ananias was going to happen to him. He was going to suffer for his name's sake. As a criminal unto chains, it's G1199, but the word of Elohim is not chained, G1210 in the Greek. In the Strongs, we see the G1199 is desmos, neuter and masculine respectively from the G1210, a band that is ligament of the body or shackle of a prisoner, figuratively an impediment or disability. There's some impeding wanting to go on. Nothing's changed. There's nothing new under the sun. It's been that way for a long, long, long time. The Strong's G1210, from which it comes, which is the other word in the verse, deo. A primary verb to bind in various applications, literally or figuratively. If we trace it back, we can trace it back to Isaiah 22:3, And here we see the G1210. And in Isaiah 42:7, we also see the G1199 and the G1210. So if we look at Isaiah 22:3, we see the being tied or the bound right here in the Hebrew is H631. We see in Isaiah 42:7, it is H616. And to bring out the prisoners from the prison, H4525. This is not it. This is something else. So we see we've got a couple different numbers going on here. We've got the H631, the H616, and the H45. I don't know if you guys can see my mouse. H4525. So the H631 is asar, a primitive root to yoke or hitch, by analogy to fasten in any sense, like with the chain or with the bond or with the yoke, to join battle. The 616 is for 615, comes from the 631, bound. That is a captive. So we can see here at the V and the B root line in the ancient Hebrew lexicon, we have, as you can see, our 615 and our 616. Prison, one who is bound, even though that says on. And the V root line here under the same family, we have the 631. It means to bind. At the C family, we have the L, the sin, and the resh. The action is to bind. The yoke. My mouse isn't. The yoke is bound to the neck of the oxen and used by the driver to turn the head of the oxen. A yoke was also used for prisoners, a binding of someone or something to move it by force. At the two-letter root, we have the sin and the resh from right to left. The action is rule, the concrete is ruler, the abstract is noble. The pictograph sin is a picture of a thorn representing a turning. The resh is a picture of a head. Combined, these mean turn the head. The turning of the head to another direction. They are going to try to turn your head to another direction. One who rules turns the people to his direction. Do you need any more evidence of that today? Brainstem thinking. Turn your head. Look this way. Look that way. Look this way. Look that way. He's going to get a neck ache. The turning of the head of a child or student in a particular direction. Well, isn't that just fancy? People will pay for what's going to be done to the innocent children. Don't think that the word of Elohim is chained. Don't think that the word Elohim himself will not take vengeance on those. Vengeance is mine, says Yahuwah. I will repay. And he will. So we see here that the V at the root is the L, the sin, and the resh. The L is actually the ox head. It can mean strong, leader, power, authority, yoke, like two oxen being in the yoke together. The sin, of course, we saw is a picture of a thorn, and here it represents a turning. And the resh, of course, is a picture of the head, and it means turning of the head. So you're going to be in these IE. They want to put you in chains, or what it would have been known in that day as was a yoke. If you won't turn your head to the anti-Messiah as the head, They will put you in chains. They will yoke you. You will be a prisoner. They're prisoners now in their own minds. But they will make you a prisoner to do anything they can to turn your head in another direction. To what? To turn everything about you to the direction of the anti-Messiah. They will bind you and yoke you to turn your head. And he's going to be allowed to be, quote unquote, ruler, prince of the power of the air in this world. He has been. Now it's just going to manifest on a big scale. But the word of Elohim is not chained. It's not bound. He will never yoke or put in chains the word Elohim, the leader, the strength, the authority, the power himself, and ever turn him to another head. To the anti-Messiah. He tried that. Tested him in the wilderness, tried to get him to turn his head when he came here for the love of his bride and to show her how to walk it out. The word Elohim is not bound. He will not move the word Elohim by force. It's not going to happen. So I want to read Isaiah 9 verses 1 through 7. And I want to look at this word rule down here in verses 6 and 7 before we continue on to really see how this unfolds in the scripture and the day and the time that what a time, isn't it? What a time we live in. Yahuwah, he knows. He knows. And you know what? They will never get to time. They might get close, but they will never get to time. Isaiah 9, if you want to turn there, so we can look at this and we can look at this. How about that? But there is no gloom upon her who is distressed, as when at first he humbled the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali, and afterward more heavily oppressed her by the way of the sea, beyond the Jordan in Galilee of the nations. And what did Matthew say about them? The people who were walking in darkness have seen a great light. Who is that light? Yahuwah Elohim, who came to rescue you. He is the light. That's why it's the first thing he breathed into creation. Like a bridegroom coming out of his chambers. Just watch the sun every day. It's like a bridegroom coming out of his chambers. The people who were walking in darkness have seen a great light. Have you seen it? Upon those who dwelt in the land of the shadow, there's that shadow again. In the shadow of death, a light has shone. But some loved the darkness so much, they didn't even recognize who he was. And the light shone. They loved the darkness rather than the light. And don't they ever. I mean, it's been manifest in every generation. But nothing like this has ever been seen before. It's it. You shall increase the nation. You shall make its joy great. They shall rejoice before you as in the joy of harvest. Who's going to rejoice in the harvest before Yahuwah Elohim? It's going to be the harvest. As men rejoice when they divide the spoil. For you shall break the yoke of his burden and the staff of his shoulder. The word Elohim is not chained, and it will break the yoke that you don't need to be entangled with again. Don't yoke yourself to anything that they have going on. Stay focused. Even in chains, even in the yoke of bondage, we cannot turn our head to the anti-Messiah. Asher. Because the word of Elohim is not chained. The rod of the oppressor, as in the days of Midian. The word of El is not bound. It is going to set you free from the bondage. One way or another. It might not be for us in this physical life that we're going to get set free from some chain. But have we been set free from the chain spiritually? Might we be set free in the physical? Sure. Might we not? Sure. It matters that you've been set free from it in your heart. Each and every one of us. I speak to myself as well as everyone else. For every boot of one trampling in tumult, and every coat rolled in blood shall be used for burning and fuel for the fire. And that is their end. That is not a yoke we want to be under in any way, shape, or form. If there's anything in our lives that would cause us to turn our head to the anti-Messiah or turn our head to that direction for any reason, we need to lose it. No part does Messiah have with Belial. Righteousness with unrighteousness. Absolutely none. For a child is born unto us, and we all know who this is speaking of. Okay. All of us that know. Let me put it that way. For a child is born unto us. I got notes in here. This child came forth from the seed of Elohim. He was not the seed of Joseph. Even Mary said, I haven't known a man. It was the seed of Elohim. A son. What does son mean in Hebrew? It's a ben. It's the house's seed. It's the house's seed of Elohim. And what is the house's seed of Elohim? It's the Word. The Word was made fresh and... The Word was made flesh, and Yahuwah Elohim was wrapped in it bodily. The fullness of Elohim bodily. This Word was given to us, wrapped in flesh, for the love of His bride, came down to show us how. And the rule is on His shoulder. What's ruling and reigning? Yahuwah? What's ruling and reigning in your hearts? The Word or Yahuwah? They're the same. He is His Word. And He's only as good as His Word. Which is perfect. I didn't mean that as a blasphemous statement. And His name is called Wonder. Yahuwah is called Wonder. Counselor. Yahuwah is called the Counselor. Okay, this child's name, this seed, this word is called Strong El. Gibor, if I bring that up later, remember that. I don't know if it's in this study. No, it was in the last one. Gibor El. The child is called El? I thought the child was a son. What's he doing being El? It's Elohim. Father of continuity. Wait, the son is called a father? He didn't have any children. How's he then called father of continuity? Because it's all Yahuwah Elohim. Prince of Peace. King of Shalom, Prince of Peace, Prince of Shalom. Of the increase of His rule and Shalom there is no end. Of whose rule and peace? Yahuwah or His Word? Upon the throne of Tawhid and over His reign. And as we saw, the seed of David was raised. That's what Paul was in chains for, but the word is not chained. To establish and to sustain it with right ruling and with righteousness from now on and forever. The ardor of Yahuwah of hosts does this. Is there anything he can't do? Is there anything too hard for him? Can he not be in more than one place at a time? Who is this ruler? What's this rule that he's got on his shoulder? H 4951. A government, a body of people who turns the head of the people through power and legislation. We are in the same root line. Are you part of the body of people? Are we part of the body of people who turns the heads of others through the power that's been given to us and the proper quote-unquote legislation? And we're not talking House and Senate and executive and judicial and legislative branch. Oh, I said House and Senate. Same thing. That's not the legislation. It's the judgment, the right rulings, following the Torah, the orders, the commands, teaching people to do it, staying inside the quote-unquote proverbial fence that he's given us to stay inside of. Are we turning the people's heads? I know there's a mem in front of that. We'll go with it. So every, and even though it's only used twice, this body of people, the mem is water, blood, chaos. But as water, the Hebrews saw the sea as a vast and mighty place. It was like a questioning word. Who's on the other side? What's on the other side? Where is that at? How did this happen? It's a questioning word. So this body of people, there's a who. They're supposed to be able to answer the questions. Who, what, when, where, why, how. So they can turn the heads of the people to the revelation of the ruler himself. The child, the son, wonder, counselor, father of continuity, strong El, Prince of Peace. That's the rule that's on his shoulders. It's always been the rule of the people that he ruled. It's always been his government. Whether it be Abraham, Joseph, Jacob, Yitzhak, whether it be the taught ones, whether it be Jeremiah. So it's not that this government just came about when this child was born. They were always turning the heads of the people to Yahuwah. Now when he came in the fullness, in his wrapped in flesh fullness bodily, now he's been able to bring us back into the order of the King of Righteousness under that priesthood after Aaron screwed up and we got his own priesthood. Forgive my language. That government, that body of people, got a pin tonight. Did you guys notice that? That government, did you see that, Dawn? It even writes, that body of people, even though they're in chains, know that the word of Elohim is not, really know in the depths of their being that the word of Elohim is not changed, and they will be turning the heads of the people and able to answer the questions of the people, not with a Christian response, not with the Catholic response, not with an Islam response, not with the response of anything else, not with the response of an improper title, but with the language, with his true name, with the fact that he's one chi, he's one. That's what Paul was doing. He was a criminal in chains for Yahuwah Elohim. After persecuting the people who were following Yahuwah, who came to save us when he was here. People can have a change of heart. But once you change your heart and put your hand to the plow, there is no looking back, or we ain't fit for the kingdom. Okay, so now, praise Yah, some of you will be happy about this. I'm only going to read 2 extra articles today that aren't in the scriptures, and then we'll come back to the scriptures. This is the exact opposite of what the word of Elohim is. Not. Paul was in chains. Paul was a prisoner. Obviously, we know that. Jeremiah was a prisoner. Joseph was a prisoner. So we've got plenty of examples of this in the scriptures, not just from the New Testament. So I want to read these couple articles. You can look them up. I know that one there at the bottom is long. I will actually put these in the description section. So I just want to read this just to put some perspective on what's going on today. Let me pull these up. And I'm not going to read a lot on them, because most of y'all that are seeing this already know this. You don't really need me to even read this to you. All right. This is from Wikipedia. Lockdown. This article is about the emergency measure. For the mass safety measure, see stay-at-home order. For the practice of isolating prisoners, see solitary confinement. For the activist tactic of attaching oneself to an object, see lock-on. Protest tactic. Love it. All right, that's enough of that. I don't love a lot of stuff. I shouldn't say that. For other uses, see lockdown disambiguation. Hold on a minute. Okay. Somebody asked me to do that every once in a while. I don't know why, but we're going to do it. A lockdown is a prison protocol. What? That usually prevents people, information, or cargo from leaving an area. Are you going to be like a prisoner in your own home? Or are you going to be a prisoner somewhere else? Or guess what? You're going to be like Shaul. If you so choose. If we so choose, excuse me. Depending on how it all goes down, there's a chance that this will be... And Shaul died. Paul died. Paul died. Will there be some still alive when Messiah returns? Well, it says so. Some will have Yahuwah written on their forehead. The breath of life. Okay? Because the mark was on their forehead and on their hand. Actually has to do with the nanodiamond being in your brain. Because you've been so busy, excuse me, I don't mean to keep saying you, because people have been so busy thinking with their brainstem as opposed to their prefrontal cortex. They're going to think with their prefrontal cortex for us. Well, for you. Not for me. For whoever takes it. And they're going to have the ability to track and monitor and control your movements. And you guys can see some of my last videos. The sun one is a good one, or buying and selling, which is the activities of your hand. It's not really about putting it on your hand or sticking it on your forehead. Will they make you? Maybe it'll go there. But from the physical, we see the spiritual picture. Okay. A lockdown is a prison protocol. That usually prevents people, information, or cargo from leaving an area. The protocol can usually only be initiated by someone in a position of authority. Lockdowns can also be used to protect people inside a facility, or, for example, a computing system from a threat or other external event. You're going to be protected. If not inside the facility of your own home, inside a facility. And very vague language in some parts of these things that are getting put out. Oh, it doesn't mean that. Well, guess what? Yes, it does. Come on. Yes, it does. Of buildings, a drill lockdown usually means the doors leading outside are locked so that no person may enter or exit. A full lockdown usually means that people must stay where they are and may not enter or exit a building or rooms within said building or a home or a facility, and stay where they're supposed to be and where they're put, and don't come out for nothing even if you need something to eat. Because it's coming. I know it's not here yet. If people are in a hallway, they should go to the nearest safe enclosed room. Do you feel safe yet? Procedures for using both emergency and preventative lockdowns must be planned. Really? Well, la-ti-da, right? Oh boy. A preventative lockdown is a preemptive action implemented to address an unusual scenario, and boy, we got something unusual and novel right now, or a weakness in a system to preempt any danger to ensure the safety and security of people. Peace and safety. Oh, we just want peace and safety. Take whatever right you want from us. We just want peace and safety. To ensure the safety and security of the people, organization, and system. Right? Wonder what organization. Wonder what system. It's not Yahuwah's system. The focus for preventative action is to avoid dangers and risks arising from the non-conformances to the normal circumstances. Sounds like dissidence to me. But also commonly includes improvements in efficiency. Preventative lockdowns are preemptive lockdowns to mitigate risk. Most organizations plan for the emergency lockdowns, but fail to plan for other situations which might quickly degrade to dangerous levels. Quickly, they're going to degrade. No, don't worry. They got it planned out. The data is in there. The AI is reading it. It knows the numbers. It's taking the random number generation and combinatorially optimizing it to see which direction it needs to move the narrative next. And they can probably see that it's quickly degrading to dangerous levels in some places. This is going to either cause war internally within the United States. Well, I shouldn't say it. It probably is. It's going to. There's no way around it. And we see that it might quickly degrade to dangerous levels. So, on that old show where Captain Kirk had an engineer and he said, "Take us to warp speed, Scotty. Let's get out of here quick. Let's get her done." Come on. These protocols must be based on the type of threat and should be kept simple and short for quick learning and implementation. Right now, I think they're in the middle of confusion, but they will give quick, short, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. And flexible enough to handle several scenarios, right? A PSYOP within a PSYOP within a PSYOP. This allows administrators more options to choose from, which are easier to use in various scenarios because the data has been examined by the AI in order to combinatorially optimize what percentage of this, and this scenarios that they have going on so they can do the best thing in that situation to bring forth the beast system. All right, then we just have emergency lockdown are implemented when there is imminent threat to the lives or risk of injury to humans. For example, a school's emergency lockdown procedures must be kept short and simple to make them easier to use in real-life crisis conditions. Simple procedures can be easily taught with periodic lockdown drills instead of lengthy training. That interesting. In infectious disease, lockdowns can limit movements or activities of a community while allowing most organizations to function normally. Right, because the infectious disease knows. I saw the best thing on the book face today. And actually, it was Captain Picard from Star Trek was in the picture. Isn't that interesting, too? And he was saying that the virus is so smart that it knows the difference between Walmart and a hair salon. That's how smart it is. Lockdowns can limit movements or activities in a community while allowing most organizations to function normally, or limit movements or activities such that only organizations supplying basic needs and services can function normally. Then we have about the situation of the lockdown that we have going on now in the middle of this pandemic. During this pandemic, the term lockdown was used for actions related to mass quarantines. By early April 2020, 3.9 billion people worldwide were under some form of lockdown, more than half the world's population. Ridiculous. By late April, around 300 million people were under lockdown in the nations of Europe, while around 200 million people were under lockdown in Latin America. Nearly 300 million people, or about 90% of the population, were under some form of lockdown in the United States. And 1.3 billion people have been under lockdown in India. And I'm going to read this one thing about prisons. In its most common usage in corrections units, I ain't going to correct you, you can get it right. I'm going to turn your head, give you a little correction. The term lockdown can be defined as a course of action. What? To turn the head to control the movement of inmates. Confining all prisoners except workers to their cells until the end of the day is an example of a lockdown period in a corrections schedule. Can you hear it? However, a full lockdown is used when all prisoners are locked in their cells to prevent prison riots. That's exactly what they're aiming for. Or unrest from spreading, or during an emergency. That is exactly what they're aiming for. We haven't seen the war horse yet. We're still at the first horse. We haven't seen the second, third, or fourth horse yet. Okay, the next article I want to read. God, I was on the screen. Good grief. The next article I want to read is this one right here. Right. Here. It should be in the description box below. I'm not going to read a lot of it. Y'all know the story. If you're new here to watching me, I'm going to assume you know the story because you wouldn't be here. U.S. begins to implement contact tracing to forcibly remove people from their homes, or keep them in their homes, or remove them from their homes, or remove a family member, or take the children. This is by Spiro Skouras. I can't even say his last name. Skouras. I don't know who he is. It was just the easiest one to read. You can look it up anywhere. I mean, contact tracing Trojan horse. This report is a follow-up to the one where I cover how Michael Ryan of The WHO stated in a press briefing how The WHO, which is of course in the pocket of the gates of hell, now believes it is time to start removing people from their homes. I know many people, especially those of you who are in the U.S., think that could never happen here. Well, those are probably the same people who thought just a couple months ago that it would be impossible to lock down the entire country because people would never put up with it, and because we have rights. Right? Right? Do you? Have you? This is being said even as we are on lockdown. And they continue to keep us on lockdown. Like prisoners in our own home to some extent, because they can't just turn up the boiling water on the frog all at once, because the frog will hop out of the pot. I want you to hop out of the pot. The superior art of war is to subdue the enemy without ever having to fight. Sun Tzu. And that's whose tactics. That's not whose only tactics, but that's whose tactics they look to. For those of you who can't wait for the government to lift the lockdowns, as many states are preparing to do, and this article was written a while ago, there's some that's lifting, remember that we were told things will not go back to normal until there is a shot for your arm, a micro needle array, the big vaccine. And the entire planet has largely received it. We have also been told about how we must embrace the new normal. We have also been told today, or I don't know if I think the video was from today, that the military will be ready to do this by the end of the year, if need be. If you don't want to do it voluntarily, because you need that, because you're a public health threat. And not everyone who believes in the fullness or is even walking in the Tarot wants to have that done. But for those of us that are, that know that we know that we know that we know, that we know that we know, we're not going to embrace this, because the word of Elohim is not chained. We're not going to turn our heads. We're not going to be yoked to this in any way, shape, or form, because the second death will have full power over you. One way or another, we're going to die to this flesh. Physically, whether we're in the grave or alive when he comes, we have to be fully dead to this flesh. Part of that new normal is contact tracing. It's just kind of the start of the imprisonment. Sounds normal enough, or at least harmless. Kind of like how the Patriot Act sounds harmless, or Operation Iraqi Freedom may have sounded like a good thing to many, despite the fact that it was a war of aggression based on lies which resulted in death of over 1 million people. But hey, it has the word freedom in it. You'll be free to roam about the country. You'll be free to go to work. You'll be free to go to the grocery store. You will not be free. So what exactly is contact tracing? Well, according to California Governor Newsom, and then we should call him Governor Nuisance, how about that? Contact tracing combined with expanded testing is a pillar of the state's modified stay-at-home order. Oh, it's not a lockdown, it's a stay-at-home order. And the goal is to track and trace every person in the state who may have been exposed, then quickly isolate and test them. So in other words, the state cannot open up without contact tracing. And only then it would be a modified stay-at-home order, not actually removing the lockdown in its entirety. Just boil that frog. Just get him a little bit warmer. Don't turn up the heat too fast, because he'll jump out of the pot. And how are they going to accomplish this? In their own words, California is building an army of 20,000 people who will be trained as disease detectives. And they're worried about the people that don't have a doctor's degree on YouTube? Come on. Oh, did I say that? Serving 6 to 12 month-long gigs that demand skills ranging from data entry and psychology. Really, got to get in your psyche. To project management and crisis intervention. Saying the state is providing a customer service. Are you buying something from them that you're their customer? while others may see this customer service as the new secret police. If you see something, say something. California will be the test pilot for this program, which they have stated will serve as the template nationwide. There you have it. And then he says, welcome to COVID 1984. So it's coming. The whole point was, it's coming. Was it different in Paul's day? Yes. Was it different in Jeremiah's day? Yes. Was it different in Joseph's day? Yes. Does it all boil down to the same thing? Being in chains for the word of Yahuwah Elohim? Dying to the flesh for Yahuwah Elohim? Yes. I'm not saying they never fought in the Old Testament. Why'd Yahusha tell them to take a sword with them? Just to have it on hand? What happened when the temple fell and people had to fight? I'm not saying there's never... If you're in a fight, you're a soldier. If you're in a war and you're part of the army of Yahuwah Elohim, there's a war. Is it physical? Yes. Is it spiritual? Yes. Absolutely, without a doubt. You get to make your decision on that. So, go look at 2 Corinthians 4, 1 through 18. Therefore, having this service, even as we received compassion, we do not lose heart. Do not lose heart. Do not lose the authority that is inside of you, Leb, the seed that's been planted, the Elohim, the Ruach HaKodesh. Don't lose that. Don't lose the authority that is inside of you, because men's hearts are going to fail them. The government that is on his shoulders will not lose heart, whatever the circumstances come to, but have renounced the secret ways of shame, not walking in craftiness. And this is not being wise or crafty as a serpent and unmixed or innocent as a dove. Not walking in your own ways of craftiness, nor falsifying the word Elohim. That's what the anti-Messiah does. Falsifies the word Elohim. Tries to chain it. But by the manifestation of the truth, no lie is of the truth. By the manifestation of this truth. What's the manifestation of the truth? He's the manifestation of the truth. His word's the manifestation of the truth. Everything in its proper order from the El to the Ta is the manifestation of his truth. Recommending ourselves to every human conscience. It's not about, oh, boast in me. That's not what he's saying. Listen to my good news, he said in Timothy. It's not his good news. Recommending what we're saying, what the government that is on his shoulders is telling you, so that the seed that's been planted in you can go by the conscience that he's given you, the place where they want to get and control the synapses in your brain on your prefrontal cortex that most people aren't thinking with, in the sight of Elohim. Don't lose heart. Not walking in craftiness. Not falsifying the word Elohim. manifesting the truth in what you think and what you say and how we walk, what we do, how we act. And indeed, if our good news has been veiled, it has been veiled in those who are perishing. Okay, keep going. Just keep going. Shake the dust off your feet and just keep going. It may be your own family. I know. And indeed, if our good news has been veiled, it has been veiled in those who are perishing, in whom the mighty one of this age, has blinded the minds of the unbelieving. Correct. Back then, the mighty one of this age. Put this curtain down. Not everybody and their brother needs to be looking in here. Now it's on a whole nother level. The eyes have been blind for a long time. But now, the blinding of the mind is going to be permanent. If you consent to this mark, to this microneedle array, to the fact that he wants to be the light inside of you, Lucifer. Okay, well, I know some people don't like that word. The anti-Messiah. Okay? If you consent to and that thing's going to go clear in your brain and it's going to control the synapse. He wants to be the light inside of you. The mighty one of this age has blinded the minds of the unbelieving, so that the enlightening of the good news of the esteem of Messiah, who is the likeness of Elohim. Okay. Everything from the El to the Ta was the Word made flesh, and he was the fullness of Elohim bodily. Of course it was the likeness of Elohim. How could it not be? The Word is the likeness of Elohim himself. Everything that was breathed from the El to the Ta is Elohim himself. He's the first and the last. Do you know another? He's the El to the Ta in Revelation. Do you know another? I don't know another. I ain't got two Messiahs. I ain't got two Yahs either. Who is the likeness of Elohim? He does not shine on them, though the sun shines on the righteous and the unrighteous. They don't take it in, take it on. That glory is not going to shine on them. And this is just the epitome. This is just the crescendo of it all. What's coming. For we do not proclaim ourselves, right? Just like he said above, recommending ourselves. He's not recommending himself. He's recommending what he's telling you about the truth, the manifestation of the truth that's coming from him about Yahushua Messiah. For we do not proclaim ourselves, but Messiah Yahusha. Messiah Yahuwah, who came to rescue us, the Master. And ourselves, your servants, for the sake of Yahusha. For Elohim, who said, let light shine out of darkness, right? Is the one who shone in our hearts. Elohim is the one. Elohim is the one who has shone in our hearts. And let there be light. And there was light. What's the light that's coming from you? What's shining from you? What's shining from the authority that's inside of you where the word is written? Elohim? His word. Both of them. It's all him. Let light shine out of darkness. For Elohim said, "Let light shine out of darkness," is the one who has shone in our hearts for the enlightening of the knowledge of the esteem of Elohim in the face of Yahuwah, who came to rescue us. He's the one getting the esteem. In the face. The fact that he is Yahuwah, who came to rescue us, the King of Kings, the greatest prophet who planted the seed in the earth, and the high priest. And we have this treasure in earthen vessels. Do we have this treasure in our earthen vessel? Is that what's planted in our heart? Is there oil in our lamp where he is to be shining? That's what's shining forth from us. So that the excellence of the power might be of Elohim and not of us. The power of Yahusha, the power of Elohim, the power of his word. Being hard pressed on every side. But not crushed. No matter how the pressure is, do not be entangled again with the yoke of bondage to turn your head, to lose heart, to lose the authority that is inside of you, to having tasted and seen the goodness of Yahuwah, and then it's all for naught. Being perplexed, right? But not in despair. Being persecuted, right? Being in chains is being persecuted, but not forsaken. The word of Elohim is not chained. It will not forsake you. He will not forsake you. He said so. Are you this right here? These are the people who are the government on his shoulders. But not destroyed. Always bearing about in the body the dying of the Master Yahusha. What do you mean? Dying to the flesh. Even in chains. That the life of Yahusha might also be manifested in our body. In the body of who? Messiah. You individually as part of the body. But in the body of the government, that would be in the first resurrection. For we, the living, are always delivered to death. Death of what? Death of the flesh. Could be literal death. Why would we want to be always delivered to death? Because we're part of the government that sits on his shoulder, that he rules. Part of those that are going to be in the first resurrection. We want to die. And if you need a physical example, Thomas said, "Let us go with the Master, and we too shall die with him." We don't need that. Physically, could be. Spiritually, absolutely. That the life of Yahusha might also be manifested in our mortal flesh. So that death indeed is working in us. Government that is on his shoulders, that he has the rule over, that turns the heads of the people. See the dying of those, dying of the flesh, maybe even dying physically. Some might be added to the numbers, I don't know. So that life might be manifested and working in them. To those whose heads we want to turn. The bride wants to turn the head of her seed to the husband, to the Father, to Yahuwah himself. Chains don't matter. It's the knowledge that the word Elohim is not chained. For this suffering is temporary. We're just sojourners here. What a time to be a sojourner, eh? But having the same spirit of belief, according to what has been written, I believe, therefore I spoke. We also believe, therefore we also speak. Speak it. Speak it. Know when to speak and when not to speak. There were times, Yahusha knew when to speak. There was a time he didn't speak. Same with the taught ones. Knowing that he who raised up the Master Yahusha, which we saw in our beginning verse, shall also raise us up through Yahuwah who came to rescue us, because you followed the word, because the seed that was planted or in the earth, same one that wrapped itself in flesh, was the fullness of Elohim bodily, shall also raise us up, because we followed that word, through that word, for the love of his bride, that we saw what he did and we continue, and we do it. And we listen to those who are bringing that forth in truth. Oh, it's going to be okay. Oh, I don't believe conspiracy theories. Well, how about we just believe the word? And shall present us with you. Right? Who of us doesn't want as many to be in that first resurrection that we know that we can get, that we can plant, we can water? Who? Not the who, but who of us? This is what the government that is on his shoulders, that he rules, this is what they want. They want to answer every who, what, when, where, why, and how, so that you will turn your head to the revelation that he's laid forth all throughout Scripture, from the very beginning to right now. For all this is for your sake, so that favor, having spread through the many, would cause thanksgiving to overflow unto the esteem of Elohim, because the word is not changed. Thank Yahuwah, the word is not changed. Therefore, we do not lose heart. But even if our outward man is perishing, physically or spiritually, the flesh is perishing, or our outward man is perishing, the inward man, when the outward man perishes, is renewed day by day. How beautiful is that? For this slight momentary pressure, it doesn't feel like a slight moment, does it? It does not. It feels like mass pressure production. Like a vice grip. But really, in the scope of things, it's slight momentary pressure. Do I feel like it's slight momentary pressure? Not really. But in the grand scheme of things, it is. Is working for us far more exceeding and everlasting weight of esteem. Because the husband esteems his bride. Yahuwah esteemed his word. Why wouldn't he? We are not looking on what is seen. Praise Yah. That we are not looking on what's seen today, right? I mean, I don't even know what Shaul was looking on. When we get some, we get scripture and we get some history, but look at what we're looking at today. Everywhere you turn, we have the wickedness of the anti-Messiah everywhere we turn. And it is on a grand scale. The technological advances have made this on the worldwide web. The spider web just sucks you in. For what is seen is passing away, praise Yah. Praise Yah. But what is not seen is everlasting. Everlasting life. Because the word of Elohim is not chained. Even though Paul was chained. Hard pressed, but not crushed. Perplexed, but not in despair. Persecuted, but not forsaken. Thrown down, but not destroyed. Dying in his body, but that life might be manifested. Just for himself? No. So that it would be a testimony, a witness of the manifestation of Yahuwah himself. We are going to be considered criminals. Just like that verse said. I didn't even look up that word. Wonder what it says in Greek. Go look it up. Now I'm curious. I'll look afterwards. Okay. So let's go to 2 Corinthians 6. Let's read a little bit more here. And working together, we also call upon you not to receive the favor of Elohim in vain. Whatever they do, don't, having seen and tasted that the Master is good, to turn around and deny him when all this comes down. Do not have received the favor of Elohim in vain. Chained or not chained, don't be entangled again with the yoke of bondage. Don't look at it. What is seen, well, let me not say that. So now I'm going to say something that totally sounds like it contradicts it, but it doesn't. Don't focus on what is seen. Focus on what is not seen unto eternal life. For he says, in an acceptable time I have heard you, and in a day of deliverance I have helped you. See, now is the well-accepted time, and now is a day of deliverance. Today is the day of salvation. Today is the day of Shua. Today is the day that Yahuwah came to rescue. Are you going to be fully turned to that? Is that the yoke we're going to be under? Having completely turned to that head, completely turned our head to that head. Giving no cause for stumbling in whatever, in anything, I guess, so that the service is not blamed. Rather, we commend ourselves as servants of Elohim in every way. No, we're not patting ourselves on the back. We want you to be the same. In much endurance. Are we going to endure until the end, even in chains? In pressures, in hardships, in distresses, in stripes, in imprisonment, in disturbance, in plenty of that, in toils. Yeah, just get yourself in a little camp. There's going to be plenty of that. In watchings, in fastings. Oh, we need to do some more of that fasting stuff. I'm speaking to myself and a few sisters out there. In cleanness, in knowledge, in patience, in kindness, in the Ruach HaKodesh, in love, unfeigned, without hypocrisy. Love is teaching the truth. Love is telling everyone the truth. Not for the fact that you're looking for anything, for no other reason than to bring people to the life everlasting. Not in hypocrisy. We're going to have to endure. Back to verse 4. There's going to be endurance. And will there be some in a physical sense? Okay, sure. Every single thing is going to be thrown at us to get us to turn our heads to the anti-Messiah. But we must endure in the yoke with the lead ox, Yahuwah Elohim. That is the yoke we want to be in. Because Yahusha, Messiah, has no companionship with Belial. Unrighteousness has no business with righteousness. Everything, anything they can do, we're going to have to endure some stuff. It'll be the same and different. There'll be nothing uncommon to any of us that won't be common to our brethren around the world. In pressures. The pressure's on already. I mean, it's like you're in the pressure cooker pot, but the lid's not on and it's just still kind of warm, get a little bit hotter, a little bit warm, turn it down, turn it up. In hardships, in distresses, in stripes, in imprisonments, in disturbances, in toils. All right. In cleanness, in knowledge, in patience. See, all these things still exist as the authority inside of you. You can still be in cleanness. You can still be pure, clean, and holy before Yahuwah Elohim. You can still be walking in the knowledge of the Torah, as long as you don't take that mark. In patience. Yeah, well, okay, in patience. In kindness. In the Ruach HaKodesh. Are we going to stay in that? Are we going to walk in that? In love without hypocrisy. In the word of truth. Why? Because the word is not chained. The word of truth is not changed. Is not chained. Not a falsified word. In the power of Elohim. Through the weapons of righteousness on the right hand and on the left. So you don't veer to the right or to the left. Interesting. Through esteem and disrespect. Through evil report and good report. Not many good reports coming for us much longer, unless it's with the closest of brethren. Actually, maybe those that are in the government of Yahuwah Elohim. Those that will be the kings and priests. Regarded as deceivers. Right? Regarded as deceivers. You don't know what you're talking about. Oh, that's just a conspiracy theory. Oh, you're not telling the truth. Oh, you're not going to do what? Well, you need to do that because they said so. Yet, telling the truth, yet true. Yet having the manifestation of a true witness. You will be a criminal. You will be a criminal in chains. But better be in those chains. Better to be in physical bondage than be tangled with the yoke of bondage again. Or at all. Well, again, because we've all been in bondage to that system at one time in our life or another, because we were born into it. As unknown, yet well known. As dying, and see, we live. How you like that? Mr. King. As disciplined, and yet not killed. As sad as a sad state of affairs. Many will perish. Many will perish without the true Messiah. Yet always rejoicing because there are some that won't. There will be no more tears, no more sorrow, no more suffering, no more death. Just keep going no matter what happens. And just know that the word of Elohim is not chained. As poor, yet enriching many, as having none, yet possessing all. Our mouth has spoken openly to you. Those that are turning the heads of the people to the revelation by answering every who, what, when, where, why, and how, speak openly. When they're supposed to. I'm not saying there's never a time to be quiet. Our mouth has spoken openly to you, O Corinthians. Our heart is wide open. The authority that's inside of us is wide open to you. It's all yours. You want it? You are not restrained by us, but by your own affections. What do we want? Are we going to be criminals in chains, or are we going to be restrained by our own affections? Not physically restrained, because if there's something we want bad enough, we go out to get it, we have to take this, then we're restrained by our own affections. But for the same reward I speak as to children. Open wide too. Open wide what? Open wide your hearts. Open wide to receive the fullness of the authority of Yahuwah Elohim. Everything from the El to the Ta, the following of the Torah of the seed that's been planted in your heart. Don't lose heart. Just keep going, knowing that which has been planted in you is not chained, even if you are. Do not become unevenly yoked with unbelievers. Unbelievers are maneuvered by the enemy. sheep in wolf's clothing, tares amongst the wheat, even in the assemblies. For what partnership has righteousness with lawlessness? They're not on the same team. And what fellowship has light with darkness? None, because when the light comes, the darkness must flee. What's shining forth from us? And what agreement has Messiah with Belial? Absolutely none. Because the word Elohim, the Messiah, Yahuwah who came to rescue us himself, is not chained. Don't think that Belial's not. Or that he's not going to be. Or that he's not going to burn. And all those that would follow after that anti-Messiah spirit. Or what part does a believer have with an unbeliever? There's no intimacy there. And what union has the dwelling place of Elohim with idols? For you are a dwelling place of the living Elohim. Just don't take that mark. Do not take that microneedle array. Do not take it. As Elohim has said, I shall dwell in them and walk among them, and I shall be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. Not if you die the second death. In the second, at the judgment, excuse me. Therefore, because believers do not belong with unbelievers, light does not belong with darkness, Messiah does not belong with Belial, the dwelling place of Elohim does not belong with idols. Elohim, the word that's not chained, is going to come and walk among you and be your Elohim. Therefore, because of that, come out from among them and be separate, says Yahuwah, and do not touch what is unclean. What is unclean? Any unclean word. No matter what it causes you to think, that causes you to do certain things, don't have anything to do with it. Be a criminal in chains. Be hard-pressed. Have pressures. Be distressed. Knowing that the word of Elohim is not chained. And do not touch what is unclean, and I shall receive you. And I shall be a father to you, and you shall be my sons and daughters to me, says Yahuwah the Almighty. Don't. Doesn't matter if we're bound. Don't be entangled again with the yoke of bondage, even if you're physically bound. Psalm 68. Verses 1 to 6. Elohim arises. What? Kum? Resurrection. Arise. Elohim arose. Come on. His enemies are scattered. Those who hate him flee before him. He comes on the scene. He's already risen. He was the first fruit. Yahuwah, who came to rescue us, has risen. The word did not return void. His word is every piece, part, conglomerate of him. He was the fullness of Elohim bodily. The word wrapped in flesh. He walked it out perfectly, and the word did not return void. He can be in more than one place at a time. If he can't, we got a problem. He can be in the Shemayim and on the earth. If he can't, we got a problem. And those who hate him flee before him. Yeah, right? As smoke is driven away, you drive them away. As wax melts before the fire. The wrong perish before Elohim. Like they're just melting in the face of the fire. I'm going to assume that word's panah there. I don't know if the word before is even there. The wrong perish before Elohim, but the righteous are glad. They exult before Elohim, and they rejoice with gladness, even though they're hard pressed on every side, even though they're in chains, even though they're in distress, even though they're in toils, even though they're in pressure. The righteous are glad because they know it's for life everlasting, because the word that lives inside of them is not chained. Sing to Elohim, sing praises to his name. His name is Yahuwah. It's all breath. Yahuwah. He breathed it all in. Sing praises to his name. Raise up a highway for him who rides through the deserts. By his name Yah, here we have his short form, and exalt before him. He's father of the fatherless and right ruler of the widows. What a picture of him that is. He's never going to leave us fatherless. And for his bride, he's not dead. Elohim is not dead. The word wrapped in the flesh may have died. The word wrapped in flesh for the love of his bride. It's a picture of the fact not only is he our father, he's our husband. Father of the fatherless and right ruler of the widows is Elohim in his set-apart dwelling. Elohim makes a home for the lonely. He brings out into prosperity those who are bound with chains. Only the rebellious shall dwell in a dry land. So let's go look at this 68:6. Oh, I better go to Psalms, right? Forgive the titles. Elohim. Okay. What do we have in the scriptures here? Elohim makes a home for the lonely. Elohim setteth. To set oneself down in a dwelling place for the night or for long periods of time. To settle or remain, a place of dwelling as a place returned to. Be pressed to the tent. Elohim makes a home for the lonely. He's got a tent. If you look at this in the Strongs, it also means causatively to settle or to marry. Elohim setteth. This is beautiful. As a child is a product of a union, the soul as a unity of body. The soul is a unity of body, soul, and breath. He causes those to come and remain who have shub, because this comes from the shub line, to turn to repent, to be pressed back to the tent, causes those to be united, separating them from the outside. Who are these people? His family, his house. Here we have the Beit line. Those who he's going to bring into his house. His house is made up of the people of the first resurrection and the second resurrection. But those he is going to marry of his house will be in the first resurrection and united as a family. He brings all of them, first and second resurrection people, out. Out of what? Out of the excrement of this world. Out of the dung. We're supposed to get the dung out of the camp. There ain't going to be, he's bringing us out of the dung. He bringeth out those which are out of the dung, those who are bound, oh, there we are, with chains. Those who are bound with chains, he brings into prosperity. Benner's guiding it coming from the Shin Resh, which means to press the beginning, to be straight. Those that are bound, he brings out. He brings them out of the excrement because they were bound in what? In this other yoke of bondage. And it's excrement. What business has Messiah with Belial? Righteousness with unrighteousness? Absolutely none. So that they can prosper, so that they can be straight, walking a straight path in a straight line, pressing Shin, that which was Resh from the beginning. The laws, the rules, the commands, the Torot, the King of righteousness and his order. But the rebellious, here we are in our root line again. But the rebellious, those who turn away from the correct path in another direction, they have turned their head to the other head. They have turned themselves. They have turned themselves to the head of the anti-Messiah, to the anti-Messiah spirit. Those ones shall dwell in a dry desert land. It's dry. Why? There's no water. There's no water there. What flows from underneath the throne? The water of life. Is that where we're going to dwell? Because we will be his people and he will be our Elohim. Even if we're bound, the word of Elohim is not bound. But the rebellious, those who have turned their head to another head, they're bound for the lake of fire. They really are bound in thought, in the authority that's inside of him and the works that they'll do. If anyone turns and receives that mark, that's it, they're bound. They're bound unto eternal death. People have been bound unto eternal death all through time because they would not accept the anti-Messiah. The Messiah. Whoo! Forgive me for that. Forgive me, yeah. Now we're just at the culmination of it all. This is the culmination. Elohim does this. Yahuwah Elohim does this. Right? That's what it says. Isaiah 61, 1-11. It's kind of late for me. The Spirit of the Master Yahuwah is upon me. Wait, who said that? Because Yahuwah has anointed me to bring good news to the meek. those that will inherit the earth. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim release to the captives, and the opening of the prison to those who are bound. Well, I thought Elohim did that in Psalm 68. He brings them out, those who are bound in chains. But this is what Yahusha quoted. So who are they? They are one. Isaiah, let me get the E sword up here. Isaiah 61. The Ruach HaKodesh, the Master Elohim himself, came and showed us how to experience the staff, how to be intimate with him as the shepherd. How did he do that? By showing us how to follow it. The people in darkness have seen a great light, and they didn't even know it because they loved the darkness rather than the light. Preach the good news, the Basora unto the meek. Who's going to inherit the earth? I think it's the meek. He has sent me to bind up the broken hearted. Just keep following the word, the authority that's inside of you, because the word of Elohim is not changed. To proclaim liberty. I forgot what that is. To proclaim liberty, freedom. Did we read about that? This is real freedom, because the word Elohim is not chained. This is freedom. Freedom to the captives. Freedom to the captives. To take one away from his homeland as a captive. A forcible turning away from one's homeland to another place. Proclaiming freedom, true freedom, to the captives. Those whom they would try to take away from knowing they're just sojourners and pilgrims in this land, and they seek another homeland. Turn you away from your homeland. Where do they want you to be? What place? The lake of fire, duh. Forgive that. I apologize. I did not mean to speak like that. Even in all my owliness. To proclaim liberty to the captives and the opening of the prison. Open the door. Open the opening of the eyes or ears as being perceptive. The opening of the eyes and the ears to them that are bound. Who are we bound under? Are we going to be in chains if we have to be and be bound? Or are we going to stay bound with the yoke, entangled with the yoke of bondage? Because we have to have what we have to have. Are we going to die to this flesh? Maybe we're going to die physically. But are we going to die to the flesh? We all know who read this. To proclaim the acceptable year of Yahuwah, the day of vengeance of our Elohim. Right? Vengeance is mine, says Yahuwah. I shall repay. Why? Because the word of Elohim ain't chained. To comfort all who mourn. Who mourn where? Oh. To appoint unto those who mourn in Zion. Who's going to be on Zion? The government that's on his shoulder, that's been hard-pressed, distressed, pressured, sad. Oh, wait. To give embellishment for ashes. The oil of joy for mourning. The garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. This garment of praise is a shining forth through words and actions. And when he is revealed, we shall be made like him. He is the light. He shall shine forth in us to some extent now. But when the first resurrection and we go into follow the truth into the land and it's cleansed, shining forth through words and actions. To those that would want to come up and receive the Torah at the Mount, but didn't receive it. The garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. To live in this dark, heavy, pressured, sad place. It's a garment of praise, of shining forth through the words and actions in a way like we've never been manifested before. And they shall be called trees of righteousness, a planting of Yahuwah to be adorned. Oh, ain't gonna be no insect allies getting those plantings. And they shall rebuild the old ruins. The word's gonna rule. The old ruins, what's been ruined of his word is gonna be rebuilt. They're gonna come to the mount for the Torah. Raise up the former waste places. And they shall restore the ruined cities and wastes of many generations. I'm just as guilty as the next guy on that. And strangers shall stand and feed your flocks, and the sons of the foreigner be your plowmen and your vine dressers. But you shall be called priests of Yahuwah. What did the priests do? They bring the law forth. Servants of our Elohim shall be said of you. And you shall wash each other's feet, right? You shall consume the strength of nations and boast in their esteem. Instead of your shame and reproach, they rejoice a second time in their portion. Therefore, they take possession a second time in their land. Everlasting joy is theirs. They follow Yahuwah Elohim, the Word Himself, the truth, everything from the El to the Ta in its proper order, into the land. And the land is cleansed. Ain't nothing unclean going to be there. Ain't coming through those gates. For I, Yahuwah, love right ruling. I hate robbery for a sending offering, and I shall give their reward in truth, and make an everlasting covenant with them. It's everlasting life. You be part of the everlasting marriage covenant. You could be part of the everlasting covenant in the land and just be there. I don't want to. I hope to get to go the first time. I don't see myself as getting to go. Someone tells you they're going, shut them off. They ain't ya. And their seed shall be known among the nations, and their offspring in the midst of all the peoples. Keep planting that seed. Keep planting that word in people. Keep watering the seed that's been planted. All who see them shall acknowledge them, that they are the seed Yahuwah has blessed. I greatly rejoice in Yahuwah. Oh, let me put this thing down. I greatly rejoice in Yahuwah. My being exults in my Elohim, for He has put garments of deliverance on me. He has covered me with the robe of righteousness, as a bridegroom decks himself with ornaments, and as a bride adorns herself with jewels. So those that are called priests of Yahuwah Elohim in the first resurrection will be dressed in a robe of righteousness, which is white and pure. They're hard-pressed, they're distressed, they're pressured, yet forever giving forth the manifestation of the truth, that others might have life. For as the earth brings forth its bud, and as a garden causes the seed to shoot up, so the Master Yahuwah causes righteousness and praise, shining forth through words and accents, to shoot forth before all the nations. He came to bring the good news that you could come back into the order of the King of Righteousness and be the first fruits, be the kings and priests, be the bride unto Yahuwah Elohim. Would open the eyes and the ears that we could perceive and be no longer in this yoke of bondage. We have no business with Belial, with lawlessness. Doesn't matter if we're chained. He's come to set us free from those chains. Even if we're physically chained. The chains spiritually, the bondage, the yoke of bondage. He's come to break that because he's not chained. There's no stopping it. There's no stopping what's going on. Could Yahuwah stop it? Of course. Isaiah 42. That was one of the places we traced the word back to. One to 9. See my servant whom I uphold. Well, who in the world does Yahuwah uphold? His word. He upholds his word. And he even came to show us he upholds his word when he wrapped himself in it. See my servant whom I uphold, my chosen one, my being has delighted in. He delights in his word. He delights in the seed that he planted in its proper order. I have put my spirit, the fullness of El bodily, causes the word he breathed made flesh to experience the staff for the love of his bride and to show her how to walk it out, to bring us back into the order of the King of Righteousness. That's what that means. He brings forth right ruling to the nations, and they are going to get rightly ruled. We're going to get rightly ruled because judgment begins with the house of Elohim. But boy, oh boy. He does not cry out nor lift up his voice, nor causes his voice to be heard in the street. Right? A crushed reed he does not break, and a smoking flax he does not quench. He brings forth right ruling in accordance with the truth. Everything that is out of the order of the truth will be rightly ruled. Judgment begins with the house of Elohim. He does not become weak or crushed. It said we might be under pressure or hard pressed, but we weren't crushed. He does not become weak or crushed. Why? He ain't chained. He's actually made strong in our weakness. He has established right ruling in the earth, and the coastlands wait for his Torot. Thus said the El Yahuwah, who created the Shemayim and the Eretz, and stretched them out, who spread forth the earth and that which comes from it, who gives breath to the people on it, and spirit to those who walk in it. Are we going to have the breath of Yahuwah Elohim written on our forehead and be walking it out? Walking in the Ruach HaKodesh. I, Yahuwah, have called you in righteousness, and I strengthen your hand and guard you, and give you for a covenant to a people, a light to the nations. He gave himself as a light to the nations. Whose covenant? Who you marrying? I give you for a covenant to a people, the people of Elohim. I will be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. We're not somebody else's people. We're the people of Yahuwah Elohim that follow the word and turn others to do the same. Even when we fall, we need to get up. To open the blind eyes, to bring out the prisoners from the prison, those who sit in darkness from the prison house. Who did that? Psalm 68 said it was Elohim. Yahuwah is Yahusha. There's not two people opening your eyes. Yahuwah told Ananias, he's gonna suffer for my name's sake. And then when the scales fell from his eyes, who did that? Yahuwah or Yahusha? Which one? There's two of them? There is not. The word of Elohim is not chained. And he's going to open your eyes and bring you out of the prison. Those who sit in darkness from the prison house. It may be that we're physically chained, but the word of Elohim is not chained. And he will bring you out from the bondage, from the yoke of bondage. Don't be entangled with it again. They'll make you feel like you want to be. They will do everything. Hardship, pressure, hard-pressed, sad, despair. I am Yahuwah. That is my name. I am the one who gave breath to the people on the earth, and the Ruach, the wind, the breath, to those who walk in it. I am the breath. I am Yahuwah. That is my name. And my esteem I do not give to another. No, not the esteem as Yahuwah. Is he going to esteem his bride? Yes. Does he esteem his word? Of course he does. He spoke it. Nor my praise to idols. There's no idols going to shine forth through words and actions. That's for us to do. We're supposed to shine forth through words and actions for him. Just like he did when he came. People in darkness have seen a great light, yet some wanted to keep on walking in that darkness. He's come to open your eyes. He's come to bring us out from the prison house. Even if we're physically in chains as a criminal. We are going to be known as criminals. We are going to be hated because he is hated. He told us so. These are momentary pressures. Slight momentary pressures, I think it said. See, the former have come, and new ones I am declaring before they spring forth. I let you hear them. He's told us all this. We already know. Why is everybody so surprised and denying it? Okay, I'll tell you why. Because I had to have someone really walk me through why. We can't wrap our brains around this is it. We can't wrap our brain around it. We've never known this before. Have we known hardships and sufferings and being hated in this? Yes. We haven't known it on this level. We haven't known it like Jeremiah. We haven't known it like Paul. We haven't known it like Joseph. We haven't known it like this. And this is even the culmination of it all. Okay, that's enough of that. Let's go back to where we started. 2 Timothy chapter 2. One to 13. You then, my son, the person that he's planting the seed into, the person that he's watering the word of Elohim, be strong in the favor that is in Messiah, Yahusha, Yahuwah, who came to rescue us. And what you have heard from me among many witnesses, entrust to these men, to entrust these to trustworthy men who shall be competent to teach others as well. Okay, we're going to look at that. We're just going to look at it in the Greek. I I just thought it was beautiful, and we should look at it. Commit them, entrust them. To place alongside, that is, present this food, present this word, by implication to deposit as a trust or for protection. At all costs. Have we count the cost? Entrust this to faithful men. Present them with this truth. Deposit this seed in them. Who shall be able to teach others. Who shall be competent, as if coming in season, that are ready to proclaim the word in season and out of season, that is ample in amount or fit in character. These are competent men who are not going to crack under pressure. Hardships that will endure in patience and in knowledge, continually bringing forth the seed. Suffer hardship. Be in chains if it's necessary. Suffer hardship with us as a good soldier of Yahuwah, who came to rescue you, Yahushua Messiah. No one serving as a soldier gets involved in the affairs of this life, and there's plenty of affairs of this life to get involved in. We are to be soldiers involved with the authority that is inside of us, Yahuwah Elohim, the word, the seed that's been planted. We're going to be treated as criminals, suffer hardships, and have to endure as a good soldiers in the trenches, on the battlefield, in captives in the prison house, physically. No one serving as a soldier entangle himself with, entwine, that is figuratively, don't be entangled with the yoke of bondage again. It's all the affairs of this life, Ecclesiastes tells us. Vanity, vanity, all is vanity. I'm not any less guilty than the next guy. It's over now. It's over. No one serving as a soldier in the army of Yahushua HaMashiach. Those that rule in his government, that are on his shoulder, that turn the heads of the people, that are able to answer every who, what, when, where, why, and how, so that they can receive the revelation that's been brought forth, that they've received, that it might be received by them. They don't get involved in the affairs of this life. And if we have been, then we need to stop it now, in order to please only him who enlisted him as a soldier. Because what else is there? It's the only thing that's not chained. It's the word of Elohim. If anyone competes in a game, he is not crowned unless he competes according to the rules. Okay, we can't break the Torah in the Torah, and if we do, we need to repent immediately. As soon as we know, as soon as it's been revealed. The hardworking farmer ought to be first to receive his share of the crops. Think over what I say, for the Master shall give you understanding into all of this. Just ask him for understanding. Remember that Yahushua Messiah, the seed of David, was raised from the dead according to my good news. He's not saying it's personally his. He's saying he's telling you the good news, the Besorah, that there is a resurrection. And the resurrection was to bring you back into the priesthood of the King of Righteousness. So that you could be the bride of Messiah, and no longer entangled with the yoke of bondage in the affairs of this life, for which I suffer hardship as a criminal. Yeah, keep preaching it. the whole truth and nothing but the truth, unto chains. You may not get out of the physical change, but you're out of the bondage that he's opened your eyes to, unto everlasting life. But the word of Elohim is not chained. They can't get to that. As long as you don't give in, they can't get to that. They cannot take that from us. So I endure through it all for the sake of the chosen. Keep enduring. We read that. In much endurance. For who? For ourselves? Well, okay. Sure, we want to make it. We want to run the race and compete according to the rules. We want to receive the prize. But what about everybody else? We don't get to choose who's chosen. We just have to keep running the race, so that they too obtain deliverance, which is in Messiah Yahusha, with everlasting esteem. Trustworthy is the word, because it is not chained, and it is the truth. Everything from the L to the Taw, you can be for sure and for certain that it is firm. For if we died with him, not only in a watery grave, immersed into the Yahusha Messiah, Yahuwah who came to rescue us, but go about in this body, dying to the flesh daily, we shall also live with him in eternal life. If we endure, we shall also reign with him. There's going to be some endurance going on. If we deny him, if we contradict him, he'll also deny us. If we are not trustworthy, he remains trustworthy, because he has to. He has to. A word cannot return void. It is impossible for him to deny or contradict himself, because that would make the word void. Isaiah 55. (1 to 13). O everyone who thirsts, come to the water. Drink freely without price. The Spirit and the bride say, come. Come. Drink of the living water. Be ye not entangled with the yoke of bondage. Let the word that is not changed set you free. No matter if the world, it's a whole different kind of freedom. And you who have no silver, come, buy and eat. Come, buy wine and milk. Come, be under the blood of Messiah and have the unadulterated milk of the word, without silver and without price. He paid it for us. If we die with him, we shall also live with him. Why do you weigh out silver for what is not bread, or your labor for what does not satisfy? Eternal life is all that's going to satisfy. Listen to me, and eat what is tob, and let your being delight itself in fatness. What are we feeding on? That which would keep us in the yoke of bondage, that which would keep us distracted, that which would turn our head to the anti-Messiah? What business has Belial with Messiah? Unrighteousness with righteousness? Dark with light? Absolutely none. Incline your ear and come to me. Shema, so that your being lives. And let me make an everlasting covenant with you. It's a marriage covenant. And the trustworthy, loving commitments of Daud, who was a king and a priest because he ate from the table of showbread. See, I have given him as a witness to the people, a leader and a commander for the people. The seed that came from David, that was raised, that we saw in 2 Timothy. Was David a leader and a commander? Sure. But he's not the everlasting. He's not the one in the marriage of the everlasting covenant that's going to marry you. See a nation you do not know you shall call, and a nation who does not know you run to you, because of Yahuwah your Elohim, and the set apart one of Yisrael, for he has adorned you. Seek Yahuwah while he may be found. If there was ever a time, and I'm not saying there was never another important time, for today is the day of deliverance. Call on him while he is near, because we're at near time. We're at near time. Let the wrong forsake his way. No matter the hardship, no matter the pressure, no matter the distress, no matter what needs to be endured. No matter the chains. And the unrighteous man his thoughts. Why? Because the unrighteous have no part with the righteous. Belial has no part with Messiah. He's chained, in some extent, and will be in the lake of fire. And will be in the prison for the millennial reign. How about that? Let him return to Yahuwah. Shub, come back, be pressed to the tent. Who has compassion on him, and to our Elohim, for he pardons much. Well, praise Yah, because some of us really need that. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares Yahuwah. For the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts higher than your thoughts. Right? Walk in the Ruach HaKodesh, the breath of life. For as the rain comes down and the snow from the heavens, and do not return there, but water the earth, and make it bring forth the bud, and give seed to the sower, and bread to the eater. It goes forth, it waters. It does come back with the heat and humidity from the sun to the clouds and go around again, whatever's not taken in. But, for as the rain comes down and the snow from the heavens, and do not return there, but water the earth, and make it bring forth and bud, and give seed to the sower, and bread to the eater. So is my word that goes forth from my mouth. It does not return to me empty. It does not return to me void, but shall certainly do what I please, and shall certainly accomplish what I sent it for. It came down, it was planted, the seeds in your heart. The word actually came and was flesh with the fullness of Elohim bodily. His word is not chained. It does not and will not return void, but does what he pleases. Are we willing to please him as soldiers in that army and allow that word to work in us because it's what pleases him? And I shall certainly accomplish what I sent it for this momentary time will pass. His word will certainly accomplish what he sent it for. It always has, from day one, from the beginning, if you will. It is not chained. They cannot take that from you. For with joy you go out, and with peace you are brought in. The mountains and the hills break forth into singing before you, and all the trees of the field clap their hands. Instead of the thorn, the cypress comes up, and instead of the nettle, the myrtle comes up. And it shall be to Yahuwah for a name, for an everlasting sign. which is not cut off. Revelation 19. Oh, thought I was done. 11 to 21. This is the last slide. And I saw the Shemaim opened, and there was a white horse. Well, what other color would it be? Duh. No, he's not half man and half horse, or half mighty one and half horse. He is not a Sagittarius. Okay? Get that out of the way. And I saw the heaven opened, and there was a white horse. And he who sat on him was called Trustworthy and True. He is firm, and for sure, and for certain, and he is the truth. He is everything from the El to the Taw in its proper order. And in righteousness he judges and fights. And his eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns, having a name that had been written, which no one had perceived except himself. None of us can fully perceive it. We can get what he reveals to us, but it's his. If we could perceive all that, we'd be him. And having been dressed in a robe dipped in blood. What? Wait a minute. He was dressed in a robe that was dipped in blood. What do you think that's about? Did he bleed for you? And his name is called the Word Yahuwah. Take the of out. His name is the Word Yahuwah. He is the Word. He is Yahuwah. He is what he breathed. Every piece, part, and conglomerate of it. Is he a tree? No. Is he a cat? No. Is he you? No. Is he me? No. But every piece, part, and conglomerate was put into it. It's all a picture for us. And the armies of the Shemaim, dressed in fine linen, robes of righteousness, shining bright, white and clean, followed him on the white horse. And out of his mouth goes a sharp sword. Is that the word? Everything from the El to the Taw that does not return void. Will not return void, for it is not chained, and with it he will smite the nations. And he shall shepherd them with the rod of iron, and he treads the winepress of the fierceness of the wrath El Shaddai, of El Shaddai. The word's going to take it all out that's not in its proper order. Who's going to take it out? Elohim. Everything in its proper order. He is everything in its proper order. He is the King of righteousness. That order. And on his robe and on his thigh, he has a name written, Sovereign of Sovereigns. How many sovereigns we got? And Master of Masters. How many masters you got? Does the word master your life? Or does Yahuwah? And I saw one messenger standing in the sun. And he cried with a loud voice, saying to the birds that fly in mid-heaven, come and gather for the supper of the great Elohim. Go and take them out. It's momentary hardship we have right now. Don't worry. Don't despair. There is great reward. To eat the flesh of sovereigns and the flesh of commanders. See what's going to happen? And the flesh of the strong ones, and the flesh of the horses, and those who sit on them, and the flesh of all people, free and slave, both small and great. Don't give in. And I saw the beast. Oh, really? Gee, I wonder who those people up above were running under. What system? And the sovereigns of the earth, and their armies, gathered together to fight him who sat on the horse, and his army. Really? Like you got a chance. Like you really got a chance in the end. And Yah is allowing this to happen. To see those of us that would be hard-pressed and stand, that would be treated as criminals in chains and stand, that would despair and that would stand, that would endure and keep on standing, having done everything therefore to stand, keep on standing. And the beast was seized. Praise Yah. Praise Yah for that day. That's a rejoiceful day. And with him the false prophet, who worked signs in his presence, by which he led those who received the mark of the beast and who worshipped his image, because those that received the mark of the beast had it on their forehead or their right hand. Is it going to come physically? I don't know if it's going to be on your forehead or right hand. The microneedle array could. But it's going to, so final frontier is your brain, to get you to do what they want you to do, to worship the image and everything about it, to turn you to that head. The two were thrown alive into the lake of fire burning with sulfur, and the rest were killed with the sword which came from the mouth of him who sat on the horse. The sword is the word, and the word is everything from the El to the Taw in its proper order, and everything from the El to the Taw in its proper order is Yahuwah himself. It's going to take out everything that's out of order, because he's not chained. He's not chained. He's riding in on a horse. Just taking him out. He did not return void. That which he set out into the earth accomplished what it was sent out to do, and it did not return void unto him. Just like our word should not return void unto us. And the rest were killed with the sword which came from the mouth of him who sat on the horse, and all the birds were filled with their flesh. Do not be afraid what man can do to the body, but what Yahuwah can do to the body and to the soul. Because he's not chained, and that which he sent forth will accomplish what he sent it forth to do. Having done everything therefore to stand, keep standing. So we praise you, Yahuwah Elohim. Yahuwah who came to rescue us. The Word himself that is not changed. Everything that was breathed into the earth. The greatest prophet, the King of Kings, the Master of Masters, our High Priest in its proper order. He is the King of Righteousness. Yahuwah, we beseech you in this time like no other, because this is the time that we're in, Yahuwah. Father, to cause us to be strong when hated, courageous when in chains, knowing that there is an eternal reward, everlasting life in Yahushua Messiah, in you who came to rescue us. Father, give us all we need, Yah, as you will. Your word says, I'll never leave you or forsake you, that we might go forth, turning the heads of the people in whatever we have to endure, to turn the heads of the people to you. In your name, Yahuwah, the breath of life, who came to rescue us. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.